Hello, welcome in. Welcome to HealthMax Abroad. I'm Chris. It's going to be a really good video, really good show here about Albania. Looking forward to it. I was just there in 2026 in the spring, sort of up near summer, so several months there. So I have some really fresh insight I'm going to share with you. I think you'll really get a lot out of it, especially if you're looking to go there. I can share some insight, and I'm going to share really the raw truth here. I'm going to give you the straight dope, so to speak. Some of it may seem a bit overly exuberant, and some of it may seem a bit harsh, but take it with a grain of salt, and I'll give you my reasoning. But as I state with everything on this channel, the aim when I'm looking at places and when I'm especially going to a place, I want to be as healthy as I can be while I'm there, and I'm looking for the places in terms of when I eventually do find a place to be for a while, I want to be in a place that offers the most potential for healthy living, vitality living. So that's all we're aiming for here. And in many ways, Albania hits it out of the park. In other ways, not so good. We'll get into it. But I'm just want to share a little bit in the beginning about their history, because it kind of informs a lot about the people, the place, gives you really a better depth of understanding. And especially consider they've been pushed around ever since really they can remember, since their inception. I mean, they've been a vassal of one state or another. They're originally an Illyrian tribe. They were absorbed into Rome and then Byzantium. And then they became part of the Ottoman Empire for a short time. And in the 15th century, there's a guy named Georgi Kastriati, also known as Skanderbeg. And Skanderbeg's a huge name. It's the biggest name in Albania. You see statues everywhere. Skanderbeg Square, which is a huge, nice sort of park, sort of square right in the middle of Tirana, the capital city. And so he's the biggest name. He's the biggest dude. He held off the Ottomans for 2 or 3 decades while they were looking to expand, and then eventually the Ottomans did consolidate. And you see that really a lot in the culture, in the architecture in Albania. There's a big Ottoman influence, of course. I think it's 60+% Muslim, but in that regard, they don't really treat religion as important there. They have a saying that being an Albanian is more about being, I don't get it right. It's more about Albanianism. It's not about some religion. And that's more tied to their self-reliance they've had over the years. It makes sense. They've been pushed around so much. They pretty much had to sort of introvert, move into themselves, and really trust their close people in their clan, especially their family. And that exists till today. They call it besa, which is a word that sort of means just almost like liken it to omerta in the Italian mafia. They had this code of silence. It's the same with the Albanians. They would never betray, never rat, never do anything that would sell out anyone in their family or maybe their immediate clan, and they stick together like that. So they have a bit of many of the, especially the men, have a bit of a rougher exterior. They have sort of a wall up, so to speak. Now, if you get beyond the wall a bit, they're really nice. They can be really nice. They can be really welcoming, but you're going to encounter a lot of walls out there. And even so, even with one another, it seems. I mean, it's just kind of their attitude, but we'll get into that in one of the ratings on the people assimilation. But thought I'd just share that about the Besa, and that they think that's why, in many ways, the Albanian mafia is so tough. Is this Besa, because they don't break ranks. They don't the silence. They're not going to rat on one another, and it keeps them close, just like the Italians. But many people I think going into Albania, I thought, well, maybe that's overblown, the Albanian mafia. And I think it is to a large degree if you just look at the media, look at movies. But I mean, there is an element there, and they do have, and there's so much, there are so many Italians there in both places, vice versa, but a lot of Italians in Albania. A lot of people speak Italian. And if you know some Italian, that's probably your best way to get by in a lot of cases. We'll get into the language barrier, because this Albanian language is tough, man. It's, what Persian Detia, Miropavsham. I mean, those are ways to say thank you, goodbye. I mean, it's all, but those seem like complex. They were complex words for me to sort of get down. Miriman Jesse, which is good morning. Shehemi Neser, see you later. So I don't know. It's a very difficult language. It's very probably not as difficult as Russian, but and then the spelling of it, and so I knew a little bit of Italian. I know a little bit, so I would use the Italian much more and got by pretty well with the Italian in a lot of cases. Some English is spoken there. We'll get into that, but if you know a little bit of Italian, you might study up on a little Italian. That'll be an easier way to get by when you're in Albania. But getting back to what I was talking about, yeah, the Muslims are very, say the religion's not big, but you see it sort of in the way the men, they're walled off in the way they dress, and most of the men are wearing a lot of black, I noticed. I mean, pretty much all the guys every day, they're wearing black. Even if it's hot out. I mean, they could have a black top on, black pants. So I just thought that was interesting. I never really ask anyone why you wear black, but there's a lot of black, and they all pretty much have the same haircut. It's pretty much always a buzz cut. Pretty much you're gonna have buzz cut guy, black clothes. That's your typical Albanian guy, and it's almost an issue type of clothing. So anyway, that was interesting, and then Albania in their history, they declared independence in 1912 as the Ottoman Empire sort of crumbled. It's not like they really. It was a big military victory. The Ottoman Empire collapsed in the Balkan Wars, and there was some obviously a lot of fighting there. But in the interwar period between the Balkan Wars and then World War II, they had a short-lived republic, and then they were taken over by this guy King Zog, who was a monarch for a little while, until Mussolini went in with Italy in I think 1939. They became a vassal of Italy, and then they became part of the Soviet Union, and they became one of the most isolated Stalinist states in the world, breaking with Yugoslavia, and then that persisted really up until the communism collapsed, the wall coming down in 1990. But what you had from that is, like I said, they were so isolated and they had such self-reliance that they really hadn't sort of developed as a country in a lot of ways. They lacked a lot of infrastructure just for any sort of capitalism, any sort of commerce, business. They were really behind in that way, and in many ways they still are. Some of the ways they conduct business, I think are antiquated, but they're catching up. They're trying to catch up, and then they had these Ponzi schemes, especially in the 90s into the early 2000s. They say that as many as 70% of the people were really harshly affected by these Ponzi schemes. They lost significant amounts of money to them through these schemes. So people went nuts. They were apparently rioting. They were taking over government buildings. People were really mad about it. And it was just extreme chaos. They called it chaotic democratization, which is another way of saying just a Wild West. And I think that birthed a lot of the sort of the Albanian crime. They found ways to, because many of them just left and they went to other places, but they still had this base that kept them together, and they found ways to just survive. And a lot of it was with crime, and it's persisted to some degree. But day to day, you might see whiffs of it, but you're not gonna be confronted with it. It's not gonna be anything that's gonna be a problem. I'll say that at least. But I think you run into some people that might have a little bit of, you feel like, I met this guy in Saranda. Really, when I first got there, I met this guy. He was a nice guy, young guy. He kind of treated me like his long lost buddy, but I always thought there was some angle there to it. And maybe there was, but sort of kept him at arm's length, and he wanted to rent me an apartment, and it just sort of, but I just felt like there was something there, and I wasn't gonna rent for the long term anyway, so. And his family owned a number of businesses in town. One fish shop that's really great fish shop. That was one great thing that they have always fresh fish. They bring in these sardines by the bucketful. They do grilled sardines, really good. Better than the sardines in the can by far. But anyway, so that's part of what's going on. And they're, ever since those pyramid schemes, they've been trying to sort of get themselves together. And I think they joined NATO in 2009, so I think that helped to add some sort of legitimacy to the country to some degree. And then there's talks of joining the EU. Those talks are ongoing. Not sure how that's going to be for right now. We have that free 1-year visa, especially for Americans. So that might go by the wayside if they do get into the EU. There's talk of that. And then they have all the relations with their neighbors, the old Yugoslavia, that was banded together with Tito. When Tito died, everything collapsed, and then Serbia kind of became the hegemon in the area, and everything has been really strained since Tito died. But everything, especially with Serbia, there's always a huge distrust, and there's always there's always some rancor there in their dealings with one another. And especially since Kosovo, I think, is almost largely Albanian ethnic population is in Kosovo. So many Albanian families, brothers here, brothers in Kosovo, they're really tightly knit together. And that's why that Kosovo war was so devastating, because you had a situation with brothers fighting brothers, but they had no choice. And that was all a Slobodan Milosevic attempt to sort of Serbianize the rest of the Balkans, especially old Yugoslavia. And then the Albanians really hold America in high regard. There are a couple of statues of Bill Clinton, George Bush over there, because of our intervention, the U.S.'s intervention in the Kosovo War. And so there's a lot of respect, and they look well upon Americans, and we did them. They feel a great service in helping them out, because they were probably going to go down versus the Slobodan Milosevic-led military. But everywhere else, Montenegro's great relations. Now, the Greece is a whole other story that I'll maybe get into, but very interesting, their relations with Greece, because I spent quite a bit of time in Greece actually before going to Albania, and asked them, just Greek people, about Albania. And it's funny because I only met one guy probably out of, 40 people I talked with that had ever been to Albania, which was shocking, because the Albanians, they come into Greece a lot. Especially if you're in Saranda, you're close to the border there. Some people go over there to shop and just be a tourist, but there's still a sort of an attitude from the Greeks about Albania being a bit of a sort of a backwards place, as they would say. And yeah, but they say they know it's much cheaper over there, but they still don't bring themselves to go over there. I don't know if they, in some cases, maybe a few of them think it's a little bit dangerous, but I don't think that's warranted. But it was just funny to hear the Greek people, they're not that crazy about Albania. And Greek is, of course, mainly Christian, more of the Orthodox Christian, and that's a little bit part of the difference to some degree, is that it's just a different place, a different people, and just to be right across the border was fascinating that they would have such an attitude about a neighbor that's right there. But anyway, but everywhere else, North Macedonia, they have good relations. It's right there. Montenegro, as I said. So everything's cool, really, other than Serbia. Serbia is the only, seems to be the group that pushes their weight around, throws their weight around. But yeah, so that kind of covers a lot of the history, and I'm going to get more into all that as we go through the ratings and mix some of this in. But really enjoyed Albania. Hope you enjoy the ratings, and we're going to get right into it. Let's go with the first one. We're going to go to cost of living. That's always the best place to kick off. So let's start there. In Albania, you get all sorts of these fresh fruit and vegetable markets everywhere, straight from the farm. They say they don't even use the organic label because everything is just assumed to be organic, and it is. It's right from the farm. The vegetables are great and they're cheap. You can come out of a vegetable stand spending a ridiculously low amount of money, $2-3, and you're loaded up with everything you want: tomatoes, lemons, broccoli, anything, carrots. So that is a big plus in Albania's favor. If you go to restaurants, even this is one in Gjirokastër, where you can see these prices are really, really reasonable, and this is sort of a higher end place right near the castle, so it's sort of a big tourist spot trap. But yet, and the food was so delicious there. The meats are so delicious. I can't say enough about it. And then you look around at the apartments. You have Tirana. Obviously, it's going to be higher in Tirana, but you're basically your Albanian lek is also known as the ALL, but it is roughly $82 lek per $1. And that's actually gotten quite a bit stronger versus the dollar in the last 3 to 4 years. At one point, it was 140 lek per $1, so 82 lek per $1. So if you're looking at, basically in Tirana, you're probably looking at, in the nice area around the city center, around Skanderbeg Square, you're going to talk about 600, 650 for a one-bedroom place, maybe 800, 850 for a two-bedroom. It's gone up of late. But when you go to Vlorë, and it does come down quite a bit, and you're going to be able to get a place in Vlora for, depending on if you're looking for something nice, you're going to pay more to $600 to $650. This was the Airbnb I had, and you can see it's really nice, really new, in a nice building, beautiful ocean view I had. And then on the other side, there's a big view of this soccer field, but you're right next to the, and this is another spot in Saranda. You can see that view is incredible, but that place is pretty much all about the balcony. It was really poorly laid out, a really small apartment, but the balcony was just so epic. You can see there you're looking straight onto the Albanian Riviera, and it's beautiful. And you've got the sea breeze coming in. That's a prime spot. That was about the 10th floor. But as I stated, they want something for this probably closer to 800 actually euros. So maybe $880 for this. So it gets quite a bit pricier. And this is even the off time in Saranda. It can even go up higher. So the prices have gone up, I think, with rents in Saranda and Vlora. But Vlora, I think, is the best place to find the best deal. You can be on the Lungomare. There is the main drag, and it's right next to the ocean. But the Lungomare is a walkway right along the ocean through the center of town. This is actually another Airbnb I had in Vlora. And you'll see it's right next to this soccer stadium, but right next to Lungomare, right next to the ocean. But he was looking for 800 euros for a month. Airbnb-wise, it was about $40 US a month. There's the soccer stadium. You can see it's really small. This is how they do business there. You basically go to a lawyer. You have to know the right person in most cases. And you can see these rates. You can pay $400 for a place, but it's going to be an old building, old decrepit building. So $400 to $450 in an old building, and probably $550, $600 plus in a newer construction. But overall, with the price of the groceries and the rents, I think are really reasonable compared to the places. Cost of living is really great, 9 out of 10. Everything's pretty affordable there. So that's one of the best things about Albania so far, or to this point, I'd say, even with more people coming in. It's getting more popular. I say Jared Kushner's building a resort place right off of the North Coast. So there's more attention coming to Albania, but everything from coffee, you get for $1. Let's talk about the healthcare. Healthcare is a bit of an issue there, because if you're outside of Toronto, you're going to have to get a bus. If you have any sort of injury or illness, you're going to have to find a way to get to Toronto. And one of these little ambulances that are really hard to come by. It's hard to get an ambulance to come to you. It's just if you have a big problem, broken leg, some sort of trauma, it's going to be a bit of a hassle and a bit of a slog to get to Toronto. In your Vlora, it's going to take you 2.5 to 4 hours in some cases with traffic. Saranda even further. So that's a big drawback in Albania. And the care is nothing to write home about. The dentists are pretty solid there, and you can pay a pretty good rate there, a decent, affordable rate for a dentist. But the doctors, you're probably, if you really have something you need some real attention, you're going to have to get out of the country. You're probably going to have to go up to Montenegro or go to Greece or even Serbia. But yeah, it's a problem. I heard several stories, guys telling me they knew guys that died on the road to Tirana. So that the healthcare there is a big negative, a big demerit on the healthcare. 4 out of 10, I think, is merited, especially if you're older and you have some issues that you need constant care. There's just not a lot of high quality care there. You don't have really access to a lot of general practitioners, and it's just not a developed system healthcare wise there. Most people are sort of do it yourself when it comes to healthcare too. So on that one, it's if you have something, you're coming in with pre-existing issues that need, as I said, constant care, Albania may not be the best place just for that reason alone. So I would be wary of having to lean on their health care. And then next, let's deal with what is next? Let's deal with access to quality food. So this is a huge, big plus. Love it. Look at this lineup of meat. This meat comes straight from the farm, and it is fantastic. I can't say enough about this. And you can get organ meats there if that's what you like. I like that. I like to be able to get heart, liver. You can get anything. I mean, the milk and the cheese is all raw and fresh. You just can't beat the food in that regard. When you're talking dairy, meat, incredible. And then even the food at restaurants, I would say it's, for the most part, it's pretty healthy. but they do have a lot of really cheap roadside food. They have a lot of cheap restaurants, a lot of tourist restaurants that are not cooking. You had to think they're using seed oils, or you're probably not going to be satisfied with what they're cooking with, but so you have to pay a little bit more at a restaurant, but it's not bad. You can eat a nice meal for 2 people at a mid-level place for $20 easily. But as I stated, this I think was one of the biggest pluses, and I've missed it the most about it. If I go back to Albania anytime soon, that's the first order of business. And I cooked a lot just at home, cooked up steaks and mixed in some liver and some heart and mixed it up, and always had milk, fresh milk every day, and fresh cheese. And that's another thing there too, is they have a lot of bread there, and the bread is really fantastic too. It's everywhere. I think it's called furo bacco. You see it everywhere. Furo eso, furo bacco. I think furo's bread. They bake that bread every day with just a couple of ingredients, and when it's piping hot and fresh, it's really hard to. I had a few situations where I ate an entire loaf on my own, and here's more of these butchers and meat shops. And they run it really well. It's really a tight-run ship. They take pride in their farms, and you can get a great steak for probably a ribeye, and a great cut on a ribeye, and it's all grass-fed, grass-finished meat. You're looking at probably around $4 to $5 in most cases for a good size. You get how many? Maybe a 12-ounce ribeye, and other cuts even cheaper. And I just can't say enough about the meat. It was great in Saranda, it was great in Tirana, great in Vlorë. I found a butcher, almost a first order of business wherever I was, and they were handy. They wouldn't say they were plentiful, but they were around, and they serviced a lot of people. And here's the cheese that was really delicious, raw cheese that was really fantastic. Most of it raw, but yeah, I can't say enough about this aspect of Albania. I think it's one of the top 2 or 3 reasons to go there. Along with the cost of living is also, yeah, it's an appealing factor as well. But when you combine these two, I can see how people want to stay for long periods of time. Just if that's a big premium you have, is eating healthy, and this is going to be right up your alley. I can tell you that much. I miss it right now just looking back at it. That was a highlight of every day, is getting a steak and a fresh batch of milk. And they do, of course, they have tons of olive trees there that are just plentiful. And they put those olives, unfortunately, in these plastic containers, and it makes me shy away from it. But access to healthy food, I got to give it a 9 out of 10. It's knocking it out of the park there. Not a 10 out of 10 just because some of the restaurants aren't and it's harder to find any sort of specialty food items that if you're looking for something healthy at a specialty food place, like a nutritional yeast or Brazil nuts or anything like that, that's not your typical food or nut, or it's going to be hard to find. You won't find that. There are a lot of nutritional places, nutrition stores. It's all just sort of the meat and potatoes, the meat and milk for many, many years. You feel like you're going back in time, and in many ways you are. You don't find a place where they just bring it in right from the farm so often. Every day they bring it in right from the farm. So I got to go 9 out of 10 on that one. Next, I think we're looking at air quality, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Air quality wise, it gets skewed a bit because Tirana can have some days of poor air quality. There's a lot of congestion there. Got 1 million plus people in that little bit of a town there, so but if you get out to the coastline, you get out to the Albanian Riviera, Saranda, Vlorë, you're gonna love the air out there. You got the sea breeze coming in, and it's so perfect if you get out in nature, which is one of the best aspects of Albania as well, is hiking, getting out in nature. You feel the freshness of the air. So it depends on where you're going to be. If you want the city life, you want the conveniences, if you want a little more action, you're going to be in Tirana, but you're going to pay a price with the air quality. But I said it sort of comes and goes. There are times when the weather systems just push everything down onto the city center there, and the city center is in sort of a mountain valley in Tirana. You're surrounded by mountains, and that mountain air, that cold mountain air, just pushes all of that potential smog and particulates down toward the city. So it's heavily dependent on the weather systems, and that's kind of the prevailing system, is that cold air coming in from the mountains. So it's something to think about. I didn't notice any lack of air quality. In fact, when I did do a few hikes in Tirana that were just sort of right outside the city, maybe 25-minute walk, you could get to some great hikes right outside Tirana, up into the mountains. Air quality was tremendous up there. I'm sorry, this is climate weather we're talking. I got confused, sorry about that. Yeah, climate weather, 7.5. It can get really hot. It can get cool in Tirana, but it can get hot and get humid. So we're talking 40 degrees Celsius. We can get to 100 degrees in Vlorë, in Saranda even, and in Tirana. So you can really get hot and humid on the coast there. And it does get pretty cool in the wintertime. It can get in the 40s, upper 30s. But yeah, this is where I was talking about the hike in Tirana on the mountains. The air quality there, you can see, you don't see any smog there really. It's pretty clear. And it felt fresh up there. And that's something you always have access to, is there's so much good hiking right outside the city, and all the mountains that surround the city in Tirana. You always have that. So in terms of being outdoors in Tirana, it's an option. If you have time to get out, if you can walk out there 25 minutes, if you can take a cab out there, you're out there 10 to 15 minutes, you're hiking. And it's not busy. A few times I went there, and several times I went on hikes. It was not busy. It's just you see a few people up on the mountain. Some of these mountain hikes are pretty rigorous. This one you're looking at here, it was a pretty steep climb for, I think, about almost 3 kilometers. So it was a tough climb. It weeds a lot of potential hikers out. You see a lot of people that make it about halfway and they turn around. So it's tough. This one especially is tough. I forget the name of this mountain offhand. Should have known that, but yeah, so be sure to bring your hiking shoes and make sure you're shape enough to get up that mountain. It's a real stress on the legs, on the lungs, but when you're up there, as you can see, it's worth it. It's a really beautiful view. Stayed up there for a while and just soaked it in. Really something to see the whole city down there. But that's one of the highlights for sure, is the hiking. And especially, as I said, around Tirana, and even in Vlorë, there's hiking right next to the Lungomare. Again, the Lungomare is the main drag that goes right through the city center and then weaves around the beach, lined with palm trees. But there are hiking trails, mountains right there, right off the beach. So yeah, air quality, I went 7 out of 10 just for the way that Tirana skews things. It depends on where you are, but overall, I think the air quality, especially if you go to Vlorë or Saranda, you're going to have some really nice air quality. For me personally, I would go Vlorë all day. That's my personal take. Saranda, to me, it's too much of a tourist trap of a town. It's either 10 out of 10 busy, or it's about a 2 out of 10. Everything's shut down. If you're there in off season, it's hard to find anything. Hard to find anything open. It took me, I probably went to 9 or 10 rental car places to finally get a car place that was open. When I was going to go up to Gjirokastër, go to Berat, and go to Samil right outside of Saranda, I finally found a place, and that's a whole other story. The way they do their rental cars is, as I'll get into with the people, it's a bit, they're looking to find a way to shake you down a little bit in most cases. At least this guy was. I think that's just kind of the whole tenor of business and tenor of the rental car business. So they found a way to get another 50, 60 euros out of me. They want you, for instance, to wash the car before you bring it back in. Well, when everything's closed, it's going to be hard to find a car wash. So it's just sort of an automatic in tax. Here's a hike just right above Vlorë, as I mentioned. See the city down below, beautiful, really beautiful. No one up there. And it's shocking that no one would be up there. See, it's a beautiful day, the weather's perfect. But I went up there several times. I don't think I saw one person up there. Again, it's a bit of a slog getting up there. You're going to be stressed a bit, but it's worth it. This is definitely one of the highlights, one of the reasons, and this is Vlorë again. I enjoyed, I would say, Vlorë the most. Here's a day in Tirana, in Skanderbeg Square. You can see there, Skanderbeg Square is really a cool place. It's got a cool vibe to it. A lot of people just chill out, hang out there. Kind of, here's another statue, I believe that's of Skanderbeg himself, the hero I mentioned, the military hero. And yeah, it's a cool vibe. A lot of people chilling out, sort of almost a Venice, California kind of vibe to it. People singing, and there are a lot of musical performers out there. So outdoor recreation, I'm going a 9 with those hikes and just the nature, the beauty of nature there is really, it's pretty much untouched. So I really have to hand it to Albania there. If you want to get in tune with nature, man, it's the place to be. And as I said, there's so many different excursions, expeditions you can go on for a day, from Vlorë, from Saranda, even from Tirana. So many different opportunities to do that. So really love that about Albania. And you can, as I say, it's not crowded, at least when I was there. And I never experienced big crowds. When you went out, here's a beautiful sunset. That's right off the Lungomare, right next to where I was staying. So just a 2-minute walk outside, boom. Beautiful sunset right over the bay there. That water's pretty chilly right there, the Adriatic. But I enjoyed getting out there. Every day I would take a swim out there just to get a little cold plunge, get a little cold therapy. And I was the only one I saw out there in that water. It was probably around 60 degrees, I'm guessing. Something in that neighborhood. Maybe at times a little colder, maybe at times a little more, but probably 58 to 62 was the range. Really, really chilly, but really refreshing, especially on sunny days like this. At that time when I was there, it was probably 80 degrees most days, or 25 Celsius, something in that range. Here's another shot of Lungomare, just beautiful. And it's really nice to take a walk down the Lungomare. It's really, a lot of people do that. They get out, they walk, their shops, cafes, right along the Lungomare, tons of cafes. They love their coffee in Albania. You got a coffee shop seems like every 10 to 15 yards you're gonna run into a coffee shop. So they're real coffee connoisseurs. You go out, have a coffee in the morning, take a little walk along the Lungomare. It's nice, it's really nice. Obviously in the summertime, I think things thin out, as I was told, but because of the heat, it can get pretty sweltering, but as I mentioned, but it's nice. It's a beautiful, almost looks like something out of California, Newport Beach. But that's a beautiful part of Vlorë. Another sunset, another look at a sunset. And it's just, the beauty there is pretty nice. Okay, now here we are. We're looking at a gym right now, and we're gonna get into fitness culture. Maybe I forgot the placard there. Here's some guys, they're getting a good walk around. This is just right in the middle of the city center, which is kind of odd in Vlorë. Just turkeys on the loose. I think a guy was letting them out, get a little air, get some fresh air for these guys. They were pretty friendly, actually. Even this guy, he was keeping tabs on his lady there, but he wasn't too worried about it. He was cool. But yeah, the gym culture there, I'm gonna get into that. It's pretty low. I'm gonna give the gym culture, or the fitness culture, a 4 out of 10. The gyms are really, the people don't work out so much. You can see their fitness culture, I've got a 3.5, yeah. And that's deserving, and they're really way behind in that regard. There's really no recovery. You might run into a place that has a sauna, but it's really weird the way they run. They might have the sauna open 2 days a week, and then it's a really, really poor sauna. You're in basically a closet, a hot closet, and people just don't do it much. They're not into it. No cold baths. All you have the ocean out there, the best cold bath you can get. But yeah, the gym culture there that was the best gym I found there. And to its credit, it is cheap. That was about $4 a day at that gym, and you could pay, I think, about $25 a month, maybe a little less than $25 a month there. But that was the newest, best gym. The other gyms were really, really old, and they have this funny practice where they want you to clean your shoes when you come into the gym. Yeah, all the gyms I went to, they want you to clean your shoes, make sure they're really nice and tidy. Here's a view of the port, and here's another view when I got that rental car and I went over to Gjirokastër. You can see the mountains, man. It's just such a beautiful drive. You go right through the mountains. As you'll see here, you really get out into farms and nature. Here we are on the road, all these mountains. see, there's nothing in the way of traffic, really. Yeah, it's really kind of an open. Here we are with some sheep. They just got the farmers right there, just letting them take over the street. Saw this on a couple of occasions. Say it's like going back in time, living a different life. They just haven't caught up in a lot of ways, which in a lot of ways it's really unique and really kind of nice, especially in this situation where you got. It's kind of took me by surprise the first time I ran up on some sheep. It happened several times after, but yeah, they just let them run and wherever they're going and right through the street, and no one seems to blink an eye. It's just another day in Bureaucracy. And Bureaucracy is another great place to go. It's the Bureaucracy Castle. There is really something to see. We've got some pictures and videos in here we'll get to, but it's really something to see. It's way on top. You got a beautiful view of the Bureaucracy below. And got a lot of old memorabilia there. A lot from 1912 is in the museum there. They have a nice museum with old cannons and old guns, and a lot of history in there, and they really honor that history. And there they are. These sheep they're getting down the road, and you're just going along with them. And then we get down to visa bureaucracy. Now this is a 9 out of 10 because the visa, obviously, it's free and it's for a year. There's nothing you have to do. You just show up, and there's no immigration. If you're an American, I think, not sure about the EU, but I think in a lot of places the EU is the same. The only thing that dings it'll be a 10 out of 10 just in that regard, is that getting that visa for free with no hassle. That's incredible. And you leave the country, I think you can come back in and reset on another year. Just go back out and come back in, maybe for a day or so. But the bureaucracy in Albania is really a headache. And for people that were renting apartments long term, even that's a headache. You have to go to the bank to pay your rent, and it turns into almost an entire day escapade because the service is just really, in a lot of cases, it's bad. And they're really antiquated in that regard. They're not a service-oriented country. And if you're a foreigner, if you're getting a foreigner tax on top of it, you're at the end of the queue. So it's that way in a lot of ways. There's a lot of bureaucracy, red tape when you have to deal with the government. But other than paying rent, you really don't have to do it much. So I still stuck with a 9 out of 10. And then we get more to the people, the assimilation. Look at this guy. He's just there. He plays his violin there all day long. And it's really and that area right there in Tirana is a really nice area, really a lot of upscale shops. And it's built around an old castle. So it's really cool. Really something to see. A lot of good dining there. But the people in general, as I explained, here we're back at Skanderbeg Square. The men, as I say, they're a bit gruff. I mean, they're 100% men, but they've got a bit of a wall up, as I mentioned, and they all dress in black, and there's a little bit of an air about them that, yeah, they're nice guys when you get to know them, but there can be, not in all cases, but as a generalization, they're a little tougher to break in with. It's a bit tougher to break in, as I said, to assimilate because of the language barrier. If they don't, younger people tend to speak some English. I would say there's a decent amount of English spoken, but luckily I did have a little bit of Italian on my side, and that helped me get through a number of situations. But if you know some Italian, that'll help, or get to know a little bit of Italian. But I almost gave up on that. I did give up pretty much on the Albanian because it's such a difficult language. As I said, the wording and try to construct sentences with it, I found it to be tough. If I was going to be there for a while, maybe I could hunker down. And here we are back at the port. The island of Corfu is only a 45-minute ferry from Saranda, Corfu, Greece. And I took that ferry, and that was easy, and it was really nice to get over into Greece that easily. And you go through port there, and there's virtually no immigration. Like I say, it's pretty much come and go as you please. And this is, like I say, leaving out of the port. That's where I found this rental car place up here. And I say that there is a bit of a tax at times on foreigners, especially if they see you're not Albanian, you're new to the area. You're going to get, and the guys who tell me even watch out, you're going to get double, triple priced at times on the littlest of things. So I did hit it pretty hard on the people, the assimilation. It's tough. That to me is one of the toughest things, is trying to, and for me, when I go to a place, I need some sporting outlets. The country has no real sporting spirit. There are no tennis courts around, there are no paddle courts, there's one basketball court, but no one's out there, kids, or they take it over during the day. It's really just not, no one plays sports there, and to me, that's a big minus for me personally. That's one reason I just wouldn't likely live there, is I need to have that sporting outlet, just an outlet to get find a way to get some cardio and have some fun doing it. But yeah, it's one of the worst situations is sporting. So you don't have that way to connect with people either. You don't have tennis, you don't have basketball, whatever you like to play. Oftentimes for me in different places, say Bali, Thailand, having that ability to break in with people organically around playing a sport is a great way to do it, and you don't have that opportunity. Don't have it in Albania, unfortunately. And this is Blue Eye, which is right outside of Saranda. Beautiful, beautiful park. Look at this water. It's so blue and crystal, coming straight up from the ground, and the guys are in the ground. And I was able to get in that water and take a little dip, and it's cold, but it's super refreshing. This is leading up to Blue Eye, and you have Samil right down the road, which is a beautiful, beautiful beach and resort area. Beaches are incredible in Samil. A little more expensive down Samil. It's about 20 minutes south of Saranda. You need a car to get down there, but yeah, if you were going to stay for a bit, I think you'd have to get some time in Samil. And there's Blue Eye National Park. There are so many national parks around, as I said, and this is just one example. It's just incredible. This is definitely worth seeing when you're there. And I don't know that you get anything just quite like this and that you get in Albania, with all this nature, and it's all at your disposal, and it's within a day's excursion. So again, that's a big plus. But taking all that in and adding up all the ratings, and this is Girocaster, which is a really cool city to see. Lots of fun, really unique. You see the streets there. This is a view from the Girocaster Castle up top. What a great view. And so much history there, you can feel it. But when you add it all up, the ratings, I think, to me, the biggest negatives are the assimilation, the gym culture, the lack of sport. But the assimilation one is the toughest, I think. Other places, I just find it much easier to assimilate quickly. This would be a bit of a slog. You'd have to work at it. And people, I don't know, you're going to have that foreigner tax unless you are there for a while, I feel. So you're going to feel it in that regard too. So when you take it all into account, I think, would I go back to Albania? Absolutely. I'd look forward to going back there, hitting places I didn't hit last time. I didn't go to Shkodër. And overall, it comes in at 6.6 for Albania. So a little bit lower than Thailand, I think, for justifiably so. I think that's an accurate number. And but to me, I would see it more as a place to go, and maybe a couple of weeks would be great to hit all the places: Saranda, Vlorë, Tirana, Girocaster, Shkodër, Berat. Those are the big places, all those places. You get up to Shkodër, you're pretty close to Montenegro. You can swing up to Kotor, Montenegro, which is a beautiful city. And so that's an option, but it is about a 5-hour bus ride, I think, from Shkodër but a short 40-minute plane ride to Kotor and Montenegro. But all things tabulated, all things in, we're going to land at 6.6. I think that seems right, just looking at it and reviewing everything about it. Hope you found this really useful. I hope you can, if you have any questions or any comments, lay them on me in the comments. I'd be happy to let you know anything I found out there that I could pass along, any insights I'd have. But thanks for watching HealthMax Abroad. So please subscribe. We're going to have a lot more. We're going to have about 8 more countries. So much great information on different health. A lot of things, as you might notice in some of my shorts, are things that aren't typically talked about and sort of out of the mainstream, but questions I always want to know the answer to. I'm a guy that just wants to know the answers. I love to research and learn and pass that on through HealthMax Abroad. So subscribe and get it. So we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.